Manufacturing process. 8 special steps in rigid flex PCB manufacturing process. Many PCB manufacturers fail to realize that ARIGID flex PCB is complex and requires a lot of communication between them and the consumers. Early communication ensures the optimization of costs and design for manufacturability. This article will explain all the necessary rigid flex PCB manufacturing steps that you must carry out with precision. Prepare and clean the base material of rigid flex PCB. You should begin the rigid flex PCB manufacturing by copper coils are covered by anti-tarnish layers for oxidation protection. Now, if you are wondering how you can get rid of this layer, it is simple. 1. First of all, you need to immerse the copper foil into an acid solution completely. 2. Next, you would treat the copper coil with sodium persulfate solution to micro-etch it. 3. In the end, you would need to coat the coil using suitable kinds of oxidation agents widely. Generate circuit pattern for the rigid flex PCB. The second step of manufacturing the rigid flex PCB board is to generate circuit patterns. Remember, always after finishing the laminate preparation. 1. Screen printing. This method directly produces the desired circuit deposits patterns onto the laminate surface. You would get a total thickness of the circuit pattern of not greater than 4 to 50 microns. To photo imaging, you would need to place a dry fat resist film comprising of the required circuit pattern close to the laminate. After that, you must expose this assembly to UV light. Etch the copper laminate with circuit pattern of rigid flex PCB. After you have generated the circuit pattern, the next step would be to etch that copper laminate. For rigid flex PCB manufacturing, you may immerse the laminate into an etch tank, or you can also spray it with an etchant solution. Furthermore, you need to engrave both sides of the copper laminate simultaneously. Precisely drill holes in the rigid flex PCB. You would drill holes, vias, and pads according to the client's requirements. You must use advanced equipment for accurate and precise holes. Through-hole plating. The fifth step is one of the critical stages of manufacturing a rigid flex PCB. In through-hole plating, you deposit the holes with copper and then chemically plate them. Rigid plate through-hole recommended plating thickness is not less than 1 million miles. Protect the rigid flex with a cover board or cover lay. Will protect it. The rigid flex board will essentially get protection from harsh chemicals, violent climate conditions, and solvents. For a cover lay material rigid flex PCB, manufacturers mostly utilize a polyimide film along with an adhesive. Screen printing imprints cover lay material onto the surface of a rigid flex board. Then you need to subject it to UV light. Cutting of rigid flex PCB. The second last step is the cutting of a rigid flex PCB board. As a rigid flex PCB manufacturer, you may select hydraulic punching and die set method for manufacturing rigid flex boards in high numbers. Electrical tests and verification of final rigid flex PCB. You would need to apply stringent electrical testing to the rigid flex PCB board. It will ensure isolation, continuity, quality, and circuit performance. You would need to apply stringent electrical testing to the rigid flex PCB board. It will ensure isolation, continuity, quality, and circuit performance. Currently, flying probe and grid testing methods are popular. We have summarized all the 8 steps that you should follow if you plan on manufacturing a rigid flex PCB. The steps start form plan design to the selection of material developing of rigid flex PCB, and then its electrical inspection. If you need rigid flex PCB manufacturing services, you can contact us and we can provide technology materials and quality services.